Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back again with some gaming goodness for you today, but something a little bit different. We've got Armed Assault 2 loaded up, aka ArmA 2, and the reason for that is that as I was browsing Battlefield 3 servers for hardcore mode, as I usually am, there just weren't that many servers. I mean, there just weren't any that were at least full, or had enough to be worth playing. And the 3 or 4 servers that actually had a lot of players within them were all running Metro. And it's just like facepalm, like I didn't get this game to play one of the most close quarter battle maps of all time. You know, I don't really want Call of Duty with a different game engine. So it's kind of disappointing, and I think it goes hand in hand with some of the things I was saying in my last Battlefield 3 video. But enough of that for now. We'll have some more Battlefield 3 videos later. Right now, I've got Armed Assault here, right? So, why am I playing this game? Well, you know, I always talk about realism, why I play hardcore mode in Battlefield 3. I always talk about how I used to love Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon and this and that. And you know, the funny thing is the most realistic game that has ever existed and that will probably ever exist for the next few years or ever is right here. And I don't play it. And there's some funny, silly reasons that I don't play it. And I have a couple of friends that actually agree with those reasons, because it's one of those games. It's a PC only game as far as I know. It's PC only, and it's basically a simulation. It's not even just a first person shooter. It's a sim. And simulations just don't exist anymore. Flight simulators, you know, they just don't. They really don't. The closest thing is basically racing games. And they aren't really sims. You know, sims used to be games that would come with a manual that was like the size of the Bible. You know, they don't make games like that anymore just because they're not popular. People don't like games with huge learning curves. People don't like difficulty. People don't like having to train at a game or get good at it. I think they just want to be in and instantly know how to play because they want familiarity. They just want to go, and that's it. Pick up a gun and shoot and just know that it should feel like every other shooter that they've ever played. And I think that's sad. And I think, like I was talking about in another video, that's taking away challenge. And as we remove challenge from, you know, humanity, we just grow weaker, I think. And I know I'm talking about video games, but I think that, you know, the learning skills, the things that happen in your brain and the hand-eye coordination, it's not just hand-eye, because hand-eye, fine, you're going to get that from BF3 and Call of Duty and whatever game you can think of, but the thinking skills are no longer existing, really. And I think this game is an example of a game where you need to think about what you're doing, because one bullet will end your life. And that's why I like this game, because it's so insanely realistic and devastatingly ultra, like, sophisticated and kind of hard and difficult. That's why I like it. But the reasons that I haven't really kept playing it over the years is mostly like minor aesthetic things. Like, one, I don't like the animation system. I think the animations are very bad. And in fact, probably some of the worst animations I've ever seen. Even, I mean, the game came out in 2009. There isn't really too many excuses that can be had, but the animations are pretty bad. The gun in first-person mode bobs around like crazy, and I've tried to adjust it, and I can't, and it's not necessary. No matter what their reasoning might be, I just don't think it's necessary, especially considering that I play Airsoft all the time with like a 6-pound AEG, and the gun never bobs this much when I'm running around with it. So that, and then the sound effects engine is also probably one of the worst I've ever heard as well. Although there are mods that you can download to fix that problem, although they're not as great, but, you know, they help. Yes, right now you can say I am completely 100% spoiled by Battlefield 3, a game that has the most amazing animations and sound effects that I've ever heard in my life of gaming. So, okay, fine. I wish that those two games would basically have a love child. So here's hoping that somehow they can mix together and have the best of both worlds. But in the meantime, those complaints at the end of the day are quite minor considering what this game does. I mean, this game has not just maps. It doesn't do that. It has one map. But the map itself is basically a continent or an island or a gigantic area that's just one thing that flashpoints and whatnot, and firefights are held in different areas of this continent. So it's gigantic. It's I don't think you could ever travel the whole thing in your lifetime, really, unless you just felt like wasting your time, I guess. But, you know, it's got all the vehicles. There's tons and tons and tons of vehicles and weapons, jets, helicopters, whatever, you name it. It's truly a combined arms sim. And they're not all easy to use, you know. The easiest things to use, of course, are the land-based cars and tanks and things like that. But flying, using helicopters, oh, you better believe there's a learning curve to that. It's not just like, you know, press up and go like Battlefield. It's really taking some time to learn the controls of a helicopter or jet. It's so hardcore. I would say that some of the people I've seen play in those things are basically dedicated pilots. They spend most of their time as a pilot, backing up ground units and things like that. Which kind of leads me to my next topic, why this game is really cool. Now, it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess. It's good and bad. This game has a community. It has a big community, kind of an underground community, if you will. But basically, most people that play this game play it co-op only. You can play team versus team and things like that. In fact, it does have support for, I think, even over 100 players, if not more than that. Maybe even 200. I'm not sure. But I think it's a large amount of players can play this game online. However, it probably takes some crazy server power to do it. But most people actually don't play adversarial gameplay modes in this game. And I'm guessing because the world is so huge that a random mismatch of people just goofing around and trying to kill each other probably doesn't work out that well. So mostly people play this game co-op. And the people that play it co-op are typically friends of each other and are in units, organizations, clans, things like that. And they're really hardcore and tight-knit, and so much to the fact that some of these units actually play so realistically that you would basically you have to double take it and look and say, hey, this is like a military unit that I'm watching, because they're literally doing some insane hardcore realistic stuff. Like, they'll be driving around in a Humvee, right, you know, and the gunner will say, you know, do I have permission to engage? And you know, the commander will be like, do not engage until fired upon. And it's so intensely realistic in how serious these guys take it. And honestly, I'm okay with that. For some people, that would scare a lot of people away. In fact, most shooter fans are probably like, screw that noise. I don't have time for that, you know. And I understand that. That's fine, to each their own. But honestly, I'm cool with that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't mind trying to hook up with one of these units and hopefully getting some good video of it, because from what I've seen so far of the vids that are out there, it looks like a blast to just really be with a real team play organization that just, you know, that is out there to get more than just a kill streak. And let's pay attention to what's going on right here, right now. This is me healing this guy up. The animations are obviously really bad and quite suggestive of some non-PG-13 situations. But it's interesting. I mean, look, I'm like, you know, pouring sulfur powder on him or whatever and fixing them up. And my AI in front of me is obviously an idiot, and he's walking around in circles. And there's a contact to the left who I'm surprised didn't blow my brains out. And yeah, but oh, that's the other flaw to this game, by the way, while we're here, is the AI is horrible. It is horribad even. It's the worst thing ever. And in fact, I would never recommend that you buy this game with the intent of playing it by yourself, because the AI is so horrible that it'll just frustrate you even more. And the real gold to this game is playing with real people. But that's most games, I think. Nobody usually wants to play with AI anymore, unless it's a good single-player campaign, which it really isn't. You know, it's just got that kind of like cheesy, weird voice acting, so that they can call out things and whatnot. But basically, as I was saying, the real gold to this game is basically playing with like an organized unit that plays as if it's almost like a military unit, where they're basically got tankers and drivers to Humvees, pilots, and then regular infantrymen. And I'm talking, it's so intense to the point where if you're a driver, you're going to basically spend, you know, most of your time driving and staying as that driver, or being a pilot and spending your entire game session as that pilot. And that's what's cool about it, is like, you're this. You are this. It is your job to do this. You're a transport helicopter pilot. Your job is to transport people, get out, go refuel, come back if we need you, and that's basically it. I mean, maybe there's some give or take to that, but in general, that's pretty intense. And like I said, to a lot of people, that's probably kind of scary and intimidating, and most people don't want to deal with that or don't have time for it. But honestly, I would be down for it. I think it'd be cool because, really, if you think about the gaming community these days, it's all about, oh, let me hit the tab button and look at my score. Let me look at my score. Let me look at my score. And I just said, let me look at my score a lot of times because I'm trying to drive the point across. It's who cares about the score? I don't care if you're number one. I don't care if you have, 25 kills and 2 deaths. Did you help the team? Did you win? You got that many kills and 0 deaths or whatever, but did your team win? And sometimes yes, but most of the time no. And I think that's the problem, and I think that's why this game is great. And while, yeah, you could probably see your kills and stuff, it's not the focus. And sometimes you see these guys playing, and it's more like, okay, some of these guys didn't fire a shot, but they flew around and transported people, or drove around and transported troops, or healed and revived, or made sure that they called out their targets and just supported the other units to the point where they helped the team that they're on win the entire battle. And I think this is probably the last of the golden age games where it's just more so about core in-depth gameplay and not just that stupid kill streak that everybody's obsessed with these days. I don't know. Maybe it's my age talking. Who knows? But it's just really, I'm digging it, and it's kind of refreshing in a way to play this. And don't get me wrong, I love Battlefield 3. I really, really do, and it's still one of my favorite games of all time. More so some of the older Battlefield games, and it has some work that needs to be done, but it's still a great game at heart. I think it's just the community in fact, the individuals and human beings that almost need more work. The game is pretty good as it is. It's humanity that I think has gotten spoiled, and I think we really need to look back at games like ArmA and kind of play a game that's actually challenging, so that maybe you can appreciate Battlefield 3 as a breath of fresh air when you play that and say, oh, you know what, I can relax now and play this game that doesn't require as much effort and skill, and then come back and kind of flip-flop between these two. And I think that's why I like this now, because I can literally play this game and Battlefield 3 and almost have 2 different games just for 2 different moods. Each is going to have their own stresses, but I think both are going to relax you in their own way as well. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I have to bring this one to a close. Hopefully you've enjoyed my ranting and raving, and the gameplay footage as well. That's always important, isn't it? But anyway, guys, don't forget to comment, like, favorite, and subscribe. It's going to help me out so very much, and obviously help you in the end, as it's going to keep you up to date on all the gaming goodness, including Airsoft. So stay tuned, guys. Peace out.